What's up, Wizards? Welcome to MTG Alchemy. I'm your host, Coy Cook, and today we are at Gamer Utopia, where we're going to be checking out Shannon's deck that he's going to be playing on the next episode of Wizard Wars coming up. All right, so we're here at Gamers Utopia. Let's head inside and see what they got.
Hey now, honey, I've been driving around in my car, looking for some kind of open bar. It's gonna be alright, gonna be alright. Got no money, but I'll work it out with my charm. Having a good time, ain't doing no harm. It's gonna be alright, gonna be alright. Hey now, honey, I've been driving around in my car, looking for some kind of open bar. It's gonna be alright, gonna be alright. Got no money, but I'll work it out with my charm. Having a good time, ain't doing no harm. It's gonna be alright, gonna be alright.
Alright, so before we get going, we want to give a shout out to all of our patrons. Our patrons are ultimately what keep the videos coming and us running. So if you don't mind throwing us just $1 a month, we would all really appreciate it. And you'll get access to all of the behind the scenes content, as well as cards in the mail signed by the cast. Don't forget about the giveaway that we're doing with Gamer Utopia in Discord.
From there, you can talk with members of the cast and other members of our community, as well as sign up for the VIP seat giveaway for War of the Spark at Gamer Utopia.
Alright, so today we're going over Shannon's deck tech. Who are you playing with?
So I'm playing mono red Grenzo Havoc Raiser. So Grenzo the Havoc Raiser says, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose one. Go target creature that player controls, which means that creature must attack that turn, but it cannot attack you. Or exile the top card of that player's library. Until the end of turn, you may cast that card, and you may use mana of as though it were mana of any color to cast it.
Alright, so you can use Grenzo essentially to make everybody else attack each other and not you, just causing absolute mayhem.
That is one of his abilities. However, I never use that ability. This deck is basically designed to beat everyone else by using their deck. So I'm always using the exile the card and play it, cast using a mana of any color as to cast the spell. I think maybe twice I've actually goaded someone's creature, and that's just because it was a creature that I wanted dead. So I figured they'd have to attack somebody, it would die, I knew it could attack me. But the whole idea behind this deck is to take the cards from their deck and use it to beat them. So that by far is the more important ability of Grenzo for being my commander.
Well, that's a really cool concept. So, what do you use for setup? So how do you get to where you're wanting to go?
Well, with Grenzo's ability, the exile, it's for each creature you have that deals combat damage. So this deck does a lot of putting out tokens. I use a lot of goblins. They're cheap. A lot of them have haste. Things like Krenko Bobmouse that lets me put more tokens into play. Even things like Handwear Garrison, which puts soldier tokens into play whenever it attacks. So in theory, this deck can aggro out and just beat a whole bunch of people in the face. But normally they start kind of nipping the tokens in the bud and everything. But it just wants to put out a bunch of those guys. So every time they hit, I'm looking at 6, 8, 12 cards instead of just 1 or 2. So doing two things: it's exiling all those cards from my opponent's library, meaning they're not going to get to play them at all, and it's giving me looks at a lot more cards that I can potentially use to end their game. So in addition to the Grenzo, I've got several other cards that allow me to look at the opponent's cards. Prophetic Flame Speaker is a 1/3 double strike trample. That whenever he deals combat damage to a player, I get to exile the top card, and again, I can play it. There is Itali, the Primal Storm, which whenever he attacks, I get to exile cards and play those. There's an enchantment, Stolen Strategy, which during my upkeep, each opponent exiles the top card of their library, and I can play any of those cards. So there's a lot of those are in there. There's also a few other things that allow me to untap and get additional combat phases, so that potentially in one turn I can hit people twice and get double the amount of cards. There's actually the possibility for a combo where I can just combo out and aggro everybody with Breath of Fury is the name of the enchantment, and it says whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, I may sack it. If I do, I move the enchantment to another creature. I then untap all of my creatures and I get another attack phase. So that, in conjunction with like Sword of Feast and Famine, says whenever I deal combat damage to a player, I untap all my lands and my token producers. So now I put that on a token, I swing with him, Handware Garrison, and some other producers, make a bunch of tokens, sack that token, untap everything, move the enchantment to another token, attack, do it all again. So
that is so bad.
Yeah, even without aggroing them out, I can exile enough of the deck where they're pretty ineffective, or get to their win cons and then beat them down with that.
This doesn't sound like it's going to be any fun to play.
It is going to be amazingly fun for me. The rest of the guys probably not quite so much, but I'm not a huge Commander player, but this deck really, the first time I saw it, it really stuck with me. I like what it does. I like that it messes with everybody. You can't sit back and be all comfortable. When I start swinging for the fences, you've got to do something or it's going to be over with. So.
All right, so a couple of things that I want to touch on in this deck is Nykthos Shrine of Nyx. I want to go over some of the mana. So Nykthos Shrine of Nyx is a legendary land. You can tap it to add 1 mana to your mana pool.
I actually believe it's been errated now to read 1 colorless mana. Most of the older lands that had that, when they actually added the Waste in Battle for Zendikar and the colorless mana, those lands were all errated to say add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Pain lands are the same way. They now say tap, add 1 colorless, or tap, pay a life, and add 1 mana of the color. So now it would technically say tap, add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool.
Judge. Okay.
On the way.
So Nykthos Shrine of Nyx, you can tap, add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can tap it, choose a color, add to your mana pool an amount of mana of that color equal to the devotion to that color. So if you have 5 guys on the field and they all have 1 red in their mana, their converted mana cost,
right,
then you can tap Nykthos Shrine of Nyx and have 5 red mana.
Right. So you're effectively attacking 3 lands, that and 2 others, and you're getting 5 red mana out of the equation. Or, well, in my case, it would be 5, but yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of like it's almost like a mana ramp for a red deck.
It's a mana ramp for any deck. That's the great thing about it, because it's the devotion to whatever you're playing. Any monocolor deck could greatly benefit for that from the acceleration. Right,
and that leads me to the next one is Scorched Ruins. Scorched Ruins comes into play, sacrifice 2 untapped lands or bury Scorched Ruins, and then you can tap it to add 4 colorless mana to your mana pool. That's a lot going on.
It is. It'll set you back early, but in situations where you've only got like 3 lands, instead of only being able to produce 3 mana, now you can put out 4.
Right.
So
you go from 3 to 5
really
like
quick.
That.
Yep.
Yeah, and unless most of the stuff costs 1 to 2 red mana, so you should be fine.
Right. Ideally in this deck though, that is there for the combat phase after with a Grenzo in play, because then I can pay mana of any color to play those spells. So I mean that doesn't do a lot for the red mana I need for this deck. But it does give me a real chunk of mana I can use to play, say, somebody's green card or red card, blue card over here or something like that.
Right.
So that's really what that is in there for, is to help with that post-combat main phase with Grenzo when I'm revealing cards. And it's a lot better to have that out for me than the 2 mountains I might probably sack to put that out.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So another land that we're running in the deck that actually isn't built around mana ramp is Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. Valakut the Molten Pinnacle enters the battlefield tapped. Whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, if you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have Valakut the Molten Pinnacle deal 3 damage to target creature or player, and then it taps to add a red mana as well. That was kind of just a possible alternate win condition, playing a mono red deck with a lot of mountains. I don't necessarily think I'm going to just kill somebody from starting life total to 0 with that. But with all the aggro the deck can do, it could definitely finish someone off mid to late game, dropping mountains number 6, 7, and 8. There's 9 points of damage. Or if there's a troublesome little, creature on the board like Marlin Mornsong, that mountain gets rid of her. Just
Shots fired.
Just alternate kind of helping out. And then back to the mana ramp that this deck has, it also runs the creature Neheb the Eternal for that as well. And Neheb the Eternal has a flick 3. Whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 3 life. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, add 1 red mana to your mana pool for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. Which ties in great with Grenzo and all of the tokens I put in. So I swing with 12 guys. I now get to see 12 cards off of my opponent's library, and I get 12 red mana to spend as though it were mana of any color to cast those 12 cards.
Barf. That sounds like I am going to hate this deck.
And it sounds like a mono red party in a bag.
Yeah,
ready
it
to go.
does.
Yes.
This looks like a really fun deck to play, but not to play against.
No, I mean, well, the drawback to this deck is its strength as well. It's aggro. It depends on creatures. I need bodies out there. So if everybody on the table wants to gang up and make sure my board state stays clear, it's kind of hard for me to do anything.
Right.
But if they don't, then it's really easy to get it going. And like I said, the main thing I like about this deck is it makes things happen. You can't pillow fort. If you try to pillow fort with this thing, I will take your pillows away and beat you with it. That's what the deck does.
All right, so if you enjoyed today's deck tag, make sure you check out the tapped out link below so you can see all of the cards that we didn't get to today. Question of the day.
Okay, so how do you guys think this deck does as is? Or maybe should it just become an aggro deck? Or I would say combo deck, but I don't think that's really going to work. But let me know how you think the deck works built as is, or if maybe it just needs to be strictly aggro, or if you've got a good idea for something that could replace something.
All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. We'll see you guys next time on MTG Alchemy.
Some kind of open bar, it's gonna be alright, gonna be alright. Got no money, but I'll work it out with my charm. Having a good time, ain't doing no harm. It's gonna be alright, gonna be alright. Hey now, honey, I've been driving around in my car, looking for some kind of open bar. It's gonna be alright, gonna be alright. Got no money, but I'll work it out with my charm. Having a good time, ain't doing no harm. It's gonna be alright, gonna be alright.